quality education on scale, not in a tokenistic manner as we currently are doing as politicians. How do you give quality education to almost 2 billion people over the next generation? So those are the questions I believe bother many of us, and which I think OxTrack was just one of those tools, fortunately, that could help in that process. But how can it help? First, there's going to be a shift in thinking about education from what it is today, where we don't relate what we spend on education to the outcomes we receive from this spend. So as a politician, when I talk about education, it's about the number of schools, it's the amount of the access, how many children are enrolled, and how many books have been supplied, not whether those children are learning. And children can't learn, people can't learn without teachers. If the teacher is not in class, the child will learn. If the teacher doesn't know what to teach, the child will end up being illiterate. So, so for us in Edo State, when I was governor, just realize that education is equal to quality of teachers, equal quality of outcomes. So if we're going to spend money, first there's got to be an alignment. Which aspect of education are you spending on? In the universities or in foundational learning? If you look at the demographics of the continent, the bulk of the population, almost 2/3, are under 25 years old. And half of that number, I think, under 12 years old. So why, if we're going to be spending $1 today on education, how much of that dollar should be spent on foundational learning? And how much of that should be spent on improving the skills of the teachers? And how do we monitor that? So it's from that perspective, I just, feel that a tool like OxTrack is so important, and that's why we've engaged with, with my friend, and to say, let's begin to let's work with you and see how we can address quality, quality of the teachers, quality of, the outcome of quality, I'll give education quality outcomes. As we are doing this morning, as we've discussed most of today, how do we measure the performance of our teachers against the outputs? So OxTrack is great. OxTrack will help us do assessment across 48 domains, right? And by the time you've done all of this properly, we should have A-class teachers, right? But how do we ensure that these A-class teachers equate to first-class learning by these children? So you cannot look at OxTrack in isolation. You can see from all the data we shared today on the pilots in Nigeria. For me, having operated, certain things come out. First, you can't implement a solution like this top-down. It has to be both ways, particularly bottom-up. The individual teachers have to accept responsibility. They have to understand that this is of value for them and be prepared to invest in it. The proprietors, people who are making money out of the educational system, have also to understand that they have to invest in these learning tools. Other players in the industry, particularly the unions, we've got to begin to think of how to reverse incentives. Today, the unions are powerful because they have this collective bargaining tools to get more money to their members, right? How can we begin to work with them to see, to begin to reverse this collective bargaining that relates what we're, fine, it's great for teachers to be paid more, but it's also important for them and their unions to help us get more value for what we're paying. And lastly, the education managers. You can't scale with the level of corruption we have in the educational system in our continent. There's got to be transparency, there's got to be accountability. And that's why tools like OxTrack are important. Because with technology, you see through a lot of the shenanigans that's going on in this sector. With EdoBEST, once we introduce technology, I could tell whether a teacher is in class,